Hello you amazing people, welcome back to RX Memes. Today we are going to be diving into r/ProRevenge, so get a snack, get a drink, and let's get into the video. Geese make great guard dogs. Mom told Dad about some dude that she thought had been following her home from work for a week or so. Dad borrowed a few of the neighbor's geese. The neighbor has ostriches, and she uses the geese the same way others use guard dogs. So at about 2 a.m., we get woken up by the battle cry of a waterfowl from hell, and there's this guy in the treehouse next to my parents' side of the house. Dad, my brother, and I went to go take a look. Dad has already called the sheriff before we went outside. There is a dude in his 30s in the treehouse, and he looks like he's bleeding. Geese are vicious, the evil, lovable little hellhound. Dad had an interesting conversation with the guy, i.e., what the f did he think he was doing stalking my mom, etc. Sheriff showed up, arrested the guy for trespassing, stalking, destruction of property, and lewd behavior towards a minor. A felony. The window he tried to get in was mine, and we are keeping the geese for a week, just in case. Update. My mom's stalker was sentenced today to 3 years in a minimum security facility. He will probably do about 18 months, but better than nothing at least. I know this is such a short story, but as soon as I saw the word geese, I needed to definitely include it because geese are seriously vicious. Also, where do you live, OP? Because why does she have ostriches? And is it like a farm? I just have so many questions. One time I was at a resort in the Dominican Republic and there were literal geese walking around like on the main path, and I'm like, okay, I'm not risking my life to go to the bar and cross these geese because geese they're wild. They are vicious. So, I mean, good idea, but like what's your neighbor doing? Like maybe the police should take a look at her. Her brother and POS family get what's coming to them. I'm not one to milk that "I had a bad life, so feel sorry for me" crap. My mom's side of the family raised me better. When I was little, my mom had postpartum depression and unfortunately gave me to my dad's side of the family. These people are the worst lot of people for a child to be given to. All of them are mentally ill drug addicts who love corporal punishment for things like accidentally knocking something off a table. My half-brother is 7 years older than me. Due to the lack of any supervision and morals, my brother assaulted me roughly from the ages of 5 to 9. It happened so often, I can't remember when it began. I repressed the memories and dealt with physical and emotional abuse constantly from my dad's side of the family. I attempted suicide when I was 16 and finally began seeing a therapist. Bless her. She dug deep and I finally remembered this fault. I told her about it, but because of the statute of limitations, all she could do was report it. Here comes the worst of it. My brother got a lawyer and appealed the accusation. My dad's mom made a fake accusation of molestation towards my mom's dad, my grandpa, the one male figure in my life that never hurt a hair on my head. I love my grandpa more than anything. My brother's lawyer called my grandfather and asked him to testify against me in court, saying I made it all up. My grandfather had no idea this had happened. The only people who knew were my mom and therapist. Boy, did my grandpa get heated. My grandpa is Catholic and grew up not swearing. He cursed the lawyer out, then called my dad and cussed him out for this sick little f***er scarring me for life. My dad's side of the family turned on me, bashing me and emotionally and mentally abusing me, threatening my life. Everything you could do wrong, they did. Here comes the sweet revenge. I saved all those messages. I prepared them for my court case. I told my therapist all the gritty details of the abuse they put me through, and even let her in that my aunt and her boyfriend often sold drugs to me. All of it piled up. Once they learned I had evidence against them, those p***s backed down. A few days before my brother and I were due in court, he admitted to everything. He admitted to assaulting me. It's a shame all he got was put on a sex offender list that only employers can see. But to me, the best revenge was watching my wrongdoers kiss my ass and have to eat their words. I'm 22 now. I don't have much contact with my dad's side of the family, but for me to fully move on in my life, I've chosen to forgive them. And I've chosen to forgive my brother. It's a real shame what happened, but I can't do anything to change it, and I feel if I hold all the anger against them, I won't grow as a person. You messed with my time off for the last time. I used to work at the post office as an RCA, which is Rural Carrier Associate. It was a part-time driver job, It paid well, and I wanted to get the full-time job with benefits. So you have to start somewhere. The full-time driver on my route was Bill. Bill was his own man. He did what he wanted, and the postmaster allowed it. When I was trained, I rode one day with Bill. The next day, Bill called out. I then had to sort the mail and drive the route all alone. It was horrible. The PM should have told him to come in, but he was a spineless man. I didn't finish until around 8 p.m. It should have been around 3 p.m., given the time of year and how long it would eventually take me. My schedule was every Saturday and any vacation days Bill would take. I also covered every time he called out. Now, as this was supposed to be a one-day-a-week job and I had a full-time job as well at my local hospital, my post office job was in the next county over, about 45 minutes away each way. I would get calls at 6 a.m. from Bill with some BS excuse for not wanting to come to work. He would say he had to see an orthodontist today. I worked with these doctors, and I know there was no way he would be able to get an appointment that early. If he needed an appointment, he should have called me the day before so I could get my second shift job covered. Again, spineless PM would allow it to happen without any recourse. On my anniversary, I had told him I was going to take my wife out to a nice lunch before we both went to our jobs at the hospital. At 6 a.m. the phone rang, and it was the same lie as always, and I had to go in. I reminded him that it was my anniversary, and he said, "Too bad." I went in, totally pissed off. The same thing happened on my birthday, and then on my wife's birthday. He called out, and I had to work both jobs. A few months later, and nothing had changed. I applied to nursing school and was accepted for the fall program. I had several months, so I kept it to myself. My plan was to work the same way I had, and if I was offered a full-time post office job, I'd take it. If not, I'd go to nursing school. Both were great careers. Bill called out whenever the workload was heavy, like with the Sears catalogs. They were the worst. The postmaster would do things like remove all the toilet paper from the bathrooms, thinking we were wasting time pooping, I guess. He'd also turn up the heat in the summer so we'd be miserable and leave on our route faster, which was physically impossible because no matter how hot you got, you had to sort everything before leaving on your route. Sorting was by hand, and I was trying to be very accurate. Now, Bill had gotten remarried shortly before I started with the post office. They never had a chance for a honeymoon, so they put it off. They scheduled a 2-week trip to the Caribbean. When he told me, there was a month to go before they left, which was plenty of notice. He told me the tickets were non-refundable, so don't screw me over. I had had enough of Bill and the PM screwing me over all the time. So 10 days before he left, I put in my 2-week notice. The PM assumed I'd work through Bill's vacation. Nope, just the first 4 days. Bill called me at home. "Man, I've been good to you. You've got to cover my time off. The vacation is non-refundable." I remind him of all the times he's lied to force me to cover, and the days I had to work for him, like my anniversary, my birthday, my wife's birthday, etc. Also how he screwed me over in orientation, making my first several weeks miserable. I left the day I said I would. The PM refused to cover, and Bill had to cancel the trip and come into work. I loved nursing, so I made the best choice. Make my life hell at multiple jobs? I'll get you fired. On mobile. Backstory. In the early 2000s, I worked for overpriced CD store. I really liked my job aside from one coworker, Karen. We just didn't get along. I made the best of it, but she was a borderline bully. Of course, she gets promoted to key holder and proceeds to turn into a full-blown power trip bully. She made my life hell, and a job that I previously loved I couldn't stand anymore. I made a formal complaint that made its way to HR, but I was done working there, which was her goal. Of course, when HR investigated my claims, they found she and the assistant manager were dating. Oops. And she was moved to another store since fraternizing was against policy. Apparently, she didn't like that store and quit. A few months later, I was happily working at a defunct bookstore. And who gets a job at the defunct bookstore at another mall? Karen! Over the next few months, she proceeds to do little things to annoy me, like hanging up when I would call their store for a customer, or leave me on hold forever. Of course, I would get in trouble for not effectively handling customers with their needs. The revenge. About 6 months into the job, I heard through the grapevine of store gossip that Karen had been injured in a car accident. Apparently, she had hurt her back and went on medical leave. She couldn't stand for more than 10 minutes at a time without excruciating pain. This is important. She was on indefinite leave, and her store could not hire anyone to replace her while on medical leave, leaving them short-handed. And I knew her manager was really annoyed after a few months. 2 months later, a few friends of mine and I decided to go play pool. A former coworker, Rick, from the overpriced CD store was there.
Man, too bad you weren't there last night. It would have been a reunion. Karen and assistant manager were here playing pool.
Karen was playing pool?
Oh yeah, they come in every Wednesday night.
Really? That's interesting. Every Wednesday, huh? How long has this been going on?
A few months now.
Yes, for the entire time she was on medical leave, Karen was out playing pool once a week, not at home in debilitating pain like she claimed. The next day, I went to her defunct bookstore and asked to speak to the manager. I told him all about her weekly pool sessions and encouraged him to be at the pool hall next Wednesday night to catch her in action. That Thursday, she was fired. The last time I saw her, she and her friend were attempting to follow me home from work. I called the police and led them to the police station where they told her to leave me alone or be arrested. She stayed away from me after that. Alright everybody, that's it for today's video. I hope that you liked it. If you want to reach out to me, my socials are on the screen somewhere. I love to hear from you, and let me know in the comments what subreddits I should do next. I will see you in my next one. Bye!